The Senate will come to order. The senators will please take their seats. Those persons not entitled to the privilege of the floor will please retire to the gallery. The senators and all in attendance will stand and be led in prayer by Dr. John William Turner, St. James Presbyterian Church, King William, Virginia. The senators will remain standing and be led in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America by Senate Page Janie Fair Pennington.
Let us pray. O God of all that is, all that ever was, and all that ever shall be, the 400 years from 1619 to now is scarcely a drop in time's bucket. You blessed those who formed this country's first representative legislative assembly at Jamestown that year. Bless all here present who represent Virginia's hopes and dreams now. Remind us of the sentiment of farmer poet Robert Burns, who was born on this day 260 years ago. Let deep this truth impress our minds through all your works abroad. The heart, benevolent and kind, the most resembles God. Bless us all and bless us kindly. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk will call the roll. All those present, please record their vote aye. The clerk will close the roll.
You have a quorum, Mr. President. Senate Journal for Thursday, January 24, 2019.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Senator from Northern Fairfax, Senator Howe, moves that the reading of the journal be waived. All in favor of waiving the reading of the journal will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 36, noes 4.
Ayes 36, noes 4. The reading of the journal is waived. The clerk report any communication from the House of Delegates. Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Good morning, Mr. President.
Good morning, Senator.
I would respectfully move we waive the reading of any communications received from the House of Delegates.
I thank the Senator. The question is, shall the reading of the communication be waived? All in favor of waiving the reading of the communication from the House of Delegates will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 2.
Ayes 38, noes 2. The reading of the communication from the House of Delegates is waived. The clerk will report any communication from the governor.
He's been very busy and hasn't had time to send us a communication.
Well, Madam Clerk, apparently he's not been too busy because he actually did send me a communication to you, and it reads as follows. It says, to Madam Clerk Susan Shar, congratulations on being named an Outstanding Woman of the Year by the YWCA. This is a well-deserved honor. I would ask everybody to give you another round of applause. And there is a further communication from the governor. It says, and to Senator Stanley, I hope you have a nice weekend. So there you go. He really did say that. So now comes the time in the morning hour where we greet our distinguished guests with us here in the Senate gallery. And before we begin the morning hour, I'd like to call on Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I would respectfully move that the rules of the Senate be suspended and that the privileges of the floor be extended to certain distinguished persons.
I thank the senator. The question is, shall the rules be suspended and the privileges of the floor be granted to certain distinguished persons? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The rules are suspended. The privileges of the floor are granted. The chair recognizes Senator from Bath, Senator Deeds.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, 200 years ago this very day, in this Capitol, the University of Virginia was chartered. The University of Virginia has consistently been ranked among the top public universities in the country, both in terms of quality of education and affordability. Senate, we passed just last week Senate Resolution 89 to commemorate the 200th anniversary. But I want you to know that the university is not sitting still. Just this year, important announcements were made to ensure the long-term affordability for middle-class students and for lower-income families at the university. Today, to help us commemorate the 200th anniversary of the university, are Dr. Jim Ryan, the president of the university, Rusty Connor, the rector of the university, Dr. Bobby Battle, who was the co-chair of the Bicentennial Commission, Jim Murray, who is on the Board of Visitors and vice rector of the university, and Colette Sheehy, a vice president of the university. We've got some folks in the gallery to help us commemorate as well. Margaret Grundy, who is the president's chief of staff, Carrie Evans from the UVA Bicentennial Commission, Catherine Jarvis from the Office of Advancement, Bruce Murray, who is Jim's better half, Betsy Daly, who some of you may remember, she works at the university now, Penny Cabanis, who some of you may also remember, who works at the university, and Jericho Goodman. Mr. President, I would ask Madam Clerk to read the resolution, and I would hope that that would not be subject to a motion to waive the reading.
I thank the senator. Madam Clerk, you have the floor.
Senate Resolution number 89, commending the University of Virginia. Whereas the story of the University of Virginia began over 200 years ago with the creation of a new model of higher learning, one shaped by the belief that only educated citizen leaders would sustain freedom in the new republic. And whereas on October 16, 1817, United States President James Monroe and former Presidents Thomas Jefferson and James Madison joined dignitaries, townspeople, and enslaved laborers in the laying of the cornerstone of Pavilion 7, the first building constructed in Jefferson's academical village for Central College. And whereas on August 1, 1818, 21 representatives met at the Mountaintop Inn at Rockfish Gap and selected Central College as the home of a new state university. And whereas on January 25, 1819, the General Assembly of Virginia established the charter for the University of Virginia, the first non-sectarian university in the United States. And whereas the University of Virginia is a public institution of higher learning, guided by a founding vision of discovery, innovation, and development of the full potential of talented students from all walks of life, that serves the Commonwealth, the nation, and the world by developing responsible citizen leaders and professionals, the university offers an affordable, world-class education that is consistently ranked among the best institutions, public or private, in the country. And whereas the University of Virginia now includes 11 schools in Charlottesville, the College of Wise in Southwest Virginia, and a renowned academic medical center committed to providing outstanding patient care, educating tomorrow's healthcare leaders, and discovering new and better ways to treat diseases. Its physicians and nurses are recognized for preeminence in patient care, education, and research. And whereas the University of Virginia welcomes those who show exceptional promise, where students, faculty, and staff are, as Jefferson envisioned, not afraid to follow truth wherever it may lead, nor to tolerate any error so long as reason is left free to combat it. And whereas the University of Virginia is marked by its enduring commitment to vibrant and unique residential learning environment with a free and collegial exchange of ideas and the unwavering support of a collaborative, diverse community bound together by distinctive foundational values of honor, integrity, trust, and respect. And whereas over the past 200 years, the University of Virginia has grown from an institution at which the only students were white males and which was not fully coeducational until 1970, to an institution in which over 50% of the students are women and 1/3 are minorities. And whereas students thrive within a groundbreaking model of self-governance, a culture of leadership and responsibility which creates a lasting sense of initiative, decisiveness, and self-confidence, students adhere to the honor code, pledging to never lie, cheat, or steal, and by leading lives of honor. Students have continuously renewed the unique spirit of compassion and interconnectedness that has come to be called the community of trust. And whereas the Cavalier student athletics consistently pursue academic and athletic distinction, capturing 75 Atlantic Coast Conference championships since 2002, more than any other ACC school across 25 NCAA Division I sports, University of Virginia teams have won 6 NCAA championships and 24 ACC titles since the fall of 2012, and placed first in the 2015 Men's Capital One Cup, honoring the nation's top Division I athletic programs. And 404 of the university's student athletes were named to the Atlantic Coast Conference Academic Honor Roll in 2017-2018. And whereas the arts of the University of Virginia are crucial to the residential experience, inspiring students to innovate, create, collaborate, explore, and discover pursuits that enrich the larger community through an extraordinary array of performances, exhibitions, and creative opportunities. And whereas the University of Virginia counts among its alumni individuals who have changed the nation and the world, including presidents, senators, congressional representatives, governors, poets, actors, scientists, authors, Olympians, inventors, educators, entertainers, astronauts, ambassadors, journalists, doctors, nurses, business leaders, and pioneers in a wealth of fields and industries. And whereas the University of Virginia's faculty and staff pursue discovery through collaboration and cross-disciplinary exploration, develop cross-disciplinary institutes and initiatives, and provide valuable educational and research opportunities with a measurable impact, focusing research on complex intellectual and social changes and creating new knowledge that produces unanticipated technologies and innovative ideas. And whereas the University of Virginia is one of the great national and global universities of the 21st century, where the leaders of tomorrow are forged through the sharing of knowledge and the candid exchange of ideas, and where a 200-year commitment to Thomas Jefferson's belief in the illimitable freedom of the human mind has energized the university community and will continue to animate life at the University of Virginia for centuries to come. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate of Virginia that the University of Virginia hereby be commended on the occasion of its 200th anniversary, and be it resolved further that the Clerk of the Senate prepare a copy of this resolution for presentation to Frank M. Connor III, Rector, and James E. Ryan, President of the University of Virginia, as an expression of the Senate of Virginia's admiration for the institution's valuable contributions to the Commonwealth, the nation, and the world.
Mr. President, I'd ask that you congratulate our guests and give them the warm greetings to the Senate.
I thank the Senator. President Ryan, Rusty, our rector, thank you all so much for your great leadership. We are deeply proud of this great institution, UVA, which has served the world and has led and shown as a bright light here in the Commonwealth and around this nation for 200 years. You have so many illustrious UVA alum here in the room, among our senators and staff and those in the gallery, and we are grateful for your leadership. We are so proud of all of your accomplishments. We look forward to 200 more years of exceptional leadership here in this nation. And so God bless you all. We're all who's today. Go UVA. Thank you all very much. All right. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. God bless you. Well done. Congratulations. Thank you all so much. The Senate will come to order. The senators will please take their seats. Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I'd appreciate it if you would extend an extraordinarily warm welcome to the Reverend Dr. John William Turner, who led us in the invocation this morning. Reverend Turner is with the St. James Presbyterian Church in King William, and I think all of us probably remember his presence here previously because he has a very robust voice when he delivers the words of invocation and inspiration. And if you would please thank him for joining us here today.
I thank the Senator. Would the Reverend Dr. John William Turner please rise in the gallery? Dr. Turner, thank you so much for joining us here today. Thank you for that beautiful prayer. We are grateful to you for your moral leadership. We echo the eloquent and generous, kind words of the Senator from James City County, Senator Norman. Thank you for gracing us once again, and we look forward to having you back here many more times to come. We wish you all the best, and I would ask everyone to please join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to Dr. John William Turner. Senator from Northern Chesapeake, Senator Spruill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Introduction.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you. Mr. President and members, we would like to welcome a distinguished guest of our Lieutenant Governor, who is located in the gallery. Tanisha Brothers Sutton is from Chesapeake, Virginia, and is a senior at VCU, double majoring in broadcasting journalism and political science, with a concentration in civil rights. This past summer, she was a governor's fellow in the office of the Secretary of the Health and Human Resources. This semester, she is interning in the office of Lieutenant Governor. She's also planning to go to law school in the fall. Mr. President, guess what? Today, she is 22 years old. And she is accompanying her today is Ms. Grace, Keisha Hayes, her mother, and from the House of Commons, as we call it, the delegates on the other end of the hall, Delegate Cliff Hayes. I'll ask Mr. President, you will welcome them.
I thank the Senator. Would Tanisha Brothers Sutton and your wonderful family please rise in the gallery if you're able? Tanisha, thank you so much for joining us here today. Happy birthday to you. I know your family is so deeply proud of you, as we all are. And Delegate Hayes, Keisha, you raised a wonderful young lady, and we're honored to have her interning in the Lieutenant Governor's office. Grace, thank you so much for being here. You're a beautiful family. Cliff, we appreciate your leadership in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And above all, we know you're a great dad, and that's the thing that you value the most. So, Tanisha, you're evidence of that. We wish you all the best, and go Rams, even on UVA Day. Go Rams. You're doing a great job at VCU. I ask everybody please join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to Tanisha and her wonderful family. Senator from Grayson, Senator Carrico.
Thank you, Mr. President. Rise for an introduction.
I thank the Senator. You have the floor.
Mr. President, in the gallery today, we have visiting the Capitol and the Senate here a group from the town of Marion. And when my seatmate says, "Town of Marion, where's that at?" I said, "That's where a great Virginian was born 57 years ago myself." Because I knew that would never get announced on this floor. But here visiting us today is the Mayor, David Helms, council members Avery Cornett, Larry Carter, Marion Downtown President Rex Anders, and Director of Economic Development Ken Heath. I would like for the body to give them a warm welcome.
I thank the Senator. Would our friends from the town of Marion please rise in the gallery if you're able? Thank you all so much for joining us here today. We are honored by your presence, and we echo the eloquent and generous words of your native son of Marion, Senator Carrico, and we're grateful for all that you're doing. I had the pleasure of visiting with you yesterday. Thank you for taking the time to come by and let us know all the exciting things that are happening in Marion, which, by the way, is located between Wytheville and Abingdon, and it's a beautiful part of the Commonwealth of Virginia. You're doing some innovative things economically, and there's a lot of progress happening right now in the town of Marion. It's thanks to your great leadership. So we look forward to visiting with you. You're welcome back here anytime. And I would ask everyone please to join me to extend the warmest welcome of the Senate to our distinguished guests from the town of Marion. Senator from Northwestern Fairfax, Senator Boysko.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for an introduction.
Thank you, Senator. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, today I would like to introduce Donna and Robert Magoon. Mr. and Mrs. Magoon are from Virginia Beach, and Mr. Magoon, Robert Magoon, served for a number of years as the chairman of the Board of Supervisors in James City County. Special interest, they are the proud grandparents of our very own Paige, Megan Magoon, who lives in Brambleton. And I hope you will give them a warm Senate welcome.
I thank the Senator. Would Donna and Robert Magoon please rise in the gallery if you are able? Donna and Robert, thank you all so much for being here with us today. We are grateful for your presence and also for your leadership in James City County and throughout the Commonwealth. And I know you see your dear friend, Senator from James City County, Senator Norman, and also Senator from Williamsburg, Senator Mason. They are deeply grateful to both of you as well. And we're all appreciative of Megan, your wonderful granddaughter, and she is doing a wonderful job here as a Senate page, and I know that you guys love her very dearly. So I would ask everyone to please join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to our friends Donna and Robert Magoon. Do any other senators wish to be recognized for purposes of an introduction? Is there any other business to come in the morning hour? Seeing none, the clerk will call the calendar.
Senate calendar for Friday, January 25th, 2019. Uncontested calendar. Senate bills on third reading.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Mr. President, I respectfully move that all of the Senate bills on the third reading on the uncontested calendar be placed on their final passage in the block. Any senator that desires to remove a bill from the block, please do so after the clerk has read the number, and that would include all Senate bills on pages 1 through 11, including Senate Bill 1041 through Senate Bill 1729, sir.
I thank the senator. The question is, shall the Senate bills on the uncontested calendar, third reading, pages 1 through 11, Senate Bill 1041 through Senate Bill 1729, be placed upon their final passage in the block, with the understanding that any senator desiring a bill be removed from the block will do so after the clerk has read the number of the bill. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. The bills are before us in the block. The clerk will read the number of the bills.
Senate Bill 1041, Senate Bill 1080, Senate Bill 1128, Senate Bill 1176, Senate Bill 1246, Senate Bill 1272, Senate Bill 1293, Senate Bill 1315, Senate Bill 1325, Senate Bill 1368, Senate Bill 1371, Senate Bill 1401, Senate Bill 1444, Senate Bill 1445, Senate Bill 1448, Senate Bill 1449, Senate Bill 1459, Senate Bill 1463, Senate Bill 1518, Senate Bill 1568, Senate Bill 1609, Senate Bill 1676, Senate Bill 1696, Senate Bill 1729.
Question is, shall the bills in the block pass? All in favor of passage of the bills will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Mr. President.
Who's ringing in? Senior Senator from Virginia Beach, Senator Wagner.
Having voted on a prevailing side by what we just passed the block, I would ask that we would reconsider that vote.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the vote by which the bills in the block passed be reconsidered? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The motion is agreed to. Question is, shall the bills in the block pass? All in favor of passage of the bills will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The bills in the block pass.
Regular calendar, Senate bills on third reading. Senate Bill 1539, a bill relating to withholding of income for child support independent contractors.
Senator from Eastern Fairfax, Senator Servell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would move to re-refer this bill to the General Laws Committee. Some issues have been brought to my attention, and that committee would like to take a look at it.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the bill be re-referred? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill will be re-referred to committee.
Senate Bill 1098, a bill relating to Department of Small Business and Supplier Diversity, definition small business.
Senator from Western Fairfax, Senator Marsden.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the bill pass. And speaking to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Currently, Virginia companies can have 250 or fewer employees or, and that's a critical word, annual gross revenues of $10 million or less to be defined as a small business. Because of that, a company can have up to 250 employees and unlimited annual revenue. As a gross exaggeration, you can have a company with 250 employees, $1 billion in revenue, and you're a small business in the Commonwealth of Virginia. This broad definition doesn't serve the needs of the small businesses in Virginia because it creates unfair competition between large business concerns and legitimate small businesses. Under our definition, 95% of Virginia businesses qualify as a small business. 75% of Virginia businesses have 25 or fewer employees, so why would a business with 250 employees and unlimited revenue need special consideration for state procurements? By simply changing the definition from 250 or fewer employees or annual gross revenues to 250 employees and annual gross revenue of $10 million or less, that can even the playing field for small businesses who are the driving force behind our economy. This is a recommendation of the Virginia Department of Small Business and Supplier Diversity study conducted by the Virginia Commonwealth University, and I reiterate my motion to pass the bill.
I thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 1098?
Mr. President.
Senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase.
May this bill go by temporarily, please?
Without objection, Bill 1098 will go by temporarily.
Senate Bill 1013, a bill relating to suspension of driver's license for non-payment of fines or cost.
Senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that Senate Bill 1013 pass. And speaking to that measure,
Senator has the floor.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, Senate Bill 1013 you saw last year. And it arises out of what I think is one of the most unfair things that we do in the Commonwealth of Virginia, which is to suspend someone's driver's license who has the inability to pay a court cost or a fine that's assessed against them. What this has created is, in effect, a debtor's prison, where those who cannot pay their fines most certainly lose their license. And then they can't drive. And then they lose their job. And then the fine grows, and the debt grows, and the despair grows. This is an archaic practice that has to stop. And this measure is the simplest way to take care of this. What we're doing is disproportionately punishing the poor. And what this bill does is make sure that they are encouraged to not only pay their debt, but that they can keep their license. Now, we often talk to our children and others in Virginia. I even talk to my clients and say, driving is a privilege. Driving is a privilege. And it's a privilege because you have to qualify and be a certain age, take a test, etc., that the Department of Motor Vehicles requires. But once you get that driving privilege, the Supreme Court of the United States has said it is a property right. And what Virginia has been doing through no administrative process whatsoever, just automatically by the DMV, is that if someone missed a payment in paying their fines and debt costs off, without being told, their license was suspended. We have a federal court that just issued an injunction in the Western District of Virginia that stated this is a deprivation of a property right without due process and therefore is unconstitutional. They've issued an injunction. They issued an injunction reinstating the 5 plaintiffs' licenses because the judge has said they are likely to succeed on the merits, which means we have a choice here in the Commonwealth. We either take the step to remove this archaic practice or the federal court will do it for us. Quite frankly, we want to make sure if we're breaking the cycle of poverty that we're not creating more hindrances to those that may be at economic levels below your own. That because of their financial station in life or their zip code, that their inability to pay then takes away their ability to even change their current financial condition. This bill allows for every single person who's only had their license suspended because of unpaid fines, some 670,000 Virginians, 1 out of every 6 of us, to have their license restored by the Department of Motor Vehicles upon payment of the reinstatement fee. And that reinstatement fee, part goes to the DMV for processing because they have to go through that kind of process of getting their license back, and the other 100 goes to the trauma fund to help victims of trauma. So it's a win-win for us. But it's also the right thing to do. It's what we must do. And in fact, if we don't, it will be done for us. So for those reasons, Mr. President, I renew my motion, that Senate Bill 1013 pass, sir. Thank you.
I thank the senator. For what purpose is Senator from Grayson, Senator Carrico, rise?
Speak against the bill.
The senator has the floor.
Mr. President, members of the body, I realize that the federal court has weighed in and they have made the threats that they'll pull this. And I would just say to the body, I spent 15 years out here charging people for driving while suspended for failure to pay fine. Now, we hear over and over and over that these individuals, and I'm not denying that there's some that we're just trying to get to work. But I can tell you for a fact, a large majority of those people that I pulled over weren't going to work. They were going to see a family member. They were going to the bar. They were going to many other places other than work. So I have not seen one statistic that has been produced that showed the majority of these individuals that we're taking a tool out of the toolbox to receive the fines and fees from were actually going to work. And I would just hope that you would really consider what we're doing here, because I feel that we're going to have a rash of those fees that are not collected, those fines that are not collected for whatever reason the individual was suspended for a privilege in Virginia to drive, away from being able to collect. We only are able to collect about 42% of those as it is, and I think that average will go down. I hope you vote against the bill.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is the senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards, rise?
Mr. President, rising in support of the bill. I think I had a similar bill that was rolled into this. Mr. President, it may sound unusual, but I associate my remarks with those of the senator from Franklin. And he's absolutely right. Mr. President, the plight of the poor, the lower income, is not often talked about in this body, and it should be talked about a lot more. There's so many people who have had licenses suspended because they cannot and not able to pay the fines and costs. For most people, say, well, that's not a big deal. Well, some people, it is a big deal. And then what happens, they have to go to work in order to have the income to pay the fines and costs. But since they haven't paid the fines and costs, they can't drive to work. And so it becomes a cycle, a vicious cycle. When they can't go to work because their license is suspended because they can't afford to pay the fines and costs. We should never have gone down this road of saying your license is suspended if you don't pay your fines and costs, unless it's for moving violation. But Mr. President, as the senator from Franklin mentioned, there are well over 600,000 Virginians. I've heard different figures, 650, 670, 670,000 Virginians whose licenses are suspended solely because they can't pay their fines and costs. And as a federal court recently said, it is unconstitutional to take away what really is a property right. If you pass the test to get your license, it is a property right. And it's essential to work today, and for most people, to drive to work. And if you take away that basically a property right, you're depriving people of a constitutional right. And I don't know why the Finance Committee put the clause on it that it's not effective unless there's appropriation affecting the purposes of this act included in the general appropriations provisions of the appropriations bill. We should never have gone down the road to begin with. And it's high time we comply with the Constitution and we pay attention to those at the lower income level, that as long as they have qualified to drive, we shouldn't be using suspension of a license just because they have a fine or a cost they have to pay on an unrelated moving violation. So thank you, Mr. President. I would hope the body would vote yes on this bill.
Thank you, Senator. For what purpose the senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. Rise to speak in favor of the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Like my seatmate to my right, I have made some traffic stops in my time, not quite as many as my seatmate here that's a state trooper. We did make traffic stops, though, but I used to make a lot of traffic stops on guys riding mopeds at 49.5 cc's, and when you stop them, their license was suspended. But under the moped rule, you could drive a moped at 49.5 cc's and not have to have a driver's license, and all these guys were usually going to churches or Popeyes or somewhere to go to work, because they were trying to go to work to pay off fines, and it's just a vicious cycle. And, I don't disagree with my seatmate from Grayson, but I do agree that we've got an issue here, and I think the senator from Franklin is addressing that issue to try to get some of these folks that are, for the most part, indigent or entry-level wage earners who've gotten themselves in a pickle and just can't seem to get buried out of the court system because of fines and cost. And it's not anything of their own doing other than the initial infraction that they had. But once those costs start piling on and they're missing work, it's very hard for them to get there. And so in a lot of areas, there's not enough public transportation to get them where they got to go. So, and bikes aren't practical and some of those things. So I commend the senator from Franklin for bringing the issue, and that's why I'm supporting the bill, and I hope you will too.
Thank the senator. Do any senators other than the patron wish to be heard on Senate Bill 1013? Seeing none, Senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just in closing, and with loving embrace to my seatmate, who is one of my very best friends of all time, you can take the cop out of the cop car, but you can't take the cop car out of the cop. I mean, I understand his law enforcement mentality. I get to listen to it almost every day here. It's kind of interesting to sit defense lawyer to retired trooper and hear these kind of conversations. I'm glad we don't have microphones for that reason. But I think what you see here is, while understanding the need for law enforcement, we as a state have to determine for ourselves whether we are also compassionate to those that have economic distress who get a ticket. Their licenses are not suspended for bad driving behavior, and this bill doesn't help those people. Those licenses remain suspended. But for some reason, they lose their job, or they have to make a choice between putting dinner on the table or clothes on the backs of their kids, or paying the government its tax. And for everybody that loves freedom and liberty and America, then we should make sure that we're not penalizing them because they don't pay the government's tax. The other thing that we need to understand is, and I deal with this a lot in the court system, is that these tickets are jamming up our courts in General District Court. And if they come in multitudes, then at some point in time, the person goes to jail because they can't pay a fine. Ladies and gentlemen, we have abilities to collect these fines, and we need to encourage them through payment plans to make payments. But we cannot punish someone just because they can't pay the government's tax. And for that reason, again, Mr. President, and seeing everybody waving the white flag over there, which I appreciate, I get it, wrap it up, I now renew my motion to pass Senate Bill 1013.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall Senate Bill 1013 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 36, noes 4.
Ayes 36, noes 4. Senate Bill 1013 passes.
Senate Bill 1014, a bill relating to the Interstate 73 Corridor Development Fund and Program.
Senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move that Senate Bill 1014 pass. And speaking to that measure briefly,
Senator has the floor.
Briefly. Mr. President, this body has seen this bill before, and what it attempts to do is recognize Interstate 73, which would start at the North Carolina line in Southside Virginia, cresting west through Roanoke, northwest through Roanoke, Craig County into West Virginia, would provide 53,000 jobs and economic vitality and our ability to really connect to the global economy in a place that has been hurting in terms of its economy. What this does is it takes what is an existing Route 58 corridor fund, which pays for the widening and four-laning of Route 58, which goes east to west, which is the longest highway in the Commonwealth of Virginia, joining the coal fields to the port. Once that has been four-laned entirely, that fund would revert to then help construct Interstate 73 in that corridor. So for those reasons, Mr. President, I renew my motion that Senate Bill 1014 pass.
Mr. President.
Senator from Bass, Senator Dees.
Would the gentleman yield for a question?
Senator yield.
Mr. President, I do so yield.
Senator yields. You have the floor.
Mr. President, I'd ask the gentleman, when will Route 58 be complete?
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, I would answer the gentleman by saying I'm not building the highway, so I don't have that information, but I think we probably are looking at the last two sections that need to be completed, one being Lover's Leap in Patrick County, which is probably the most treacherous. So I think if I estimated, a good guesstimate would be 10 to 15 years.
Senator, further question?
So, and I'd ask the gentleman if you yield for an additional question.
Senator yield?
I do so yield, Mr. President.
Yield, you have the floor.
So, Mr. President, the gentleman is, through this bill, suggesting to his voters that this Route 73 improvement fund will be set up within 10 to 15 years, but perhaps longer from today.
Senator has the floor.
If that's a question, I think that's what it does. But it also makes a commitment for Virginia to say to the people of Southside who want this highway very badly, who want those jobs very badly, who want that economic revitalization very badly, it's saying, we believe in you. And also, in 10 or 15 years, if we're suddenly having flying cars and roads not necessary, then we can repeal this. But hopefully what we're saying to Southside is we believe in you.
Thank you, Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 1014? Junior Senator from Virginia Beach, Senator D. Steph.
Mr. President, will the gentleman yield for a question?
Will Senator Stanley yield for a question?
Yeah, I do so yield, Mr.
Senator
President.
yields, you have the floor.
Mr. President, the gentleman mentioned Route 58, and I believe he was a little mistaken, so I wanted to just double-check something. Where is the eastern termination of Route 58?
Senator has the floor.
It's like Norfolk, Virginia Beach, that area.
Mr. President, in fact, it would be Virginia Beach and at the Atlantic Ocean. I just wanted to correct that for the record. Thank you very much.
What a homer. Thank you, and I appreciate the correction, Mr. President.
Thanks, Senator. Does anyone else wish to correct Senator Stanley? Feel free to jump in. Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 1014 pass? All in favor of the motion record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 28, noes 11.
Ayes 28, noes 11. Senate Bill 1014 passes.
Senate Bill 1030, a bill relating to workers' compensation, presumption of compensability for certain cancers.
Senior Senator from Chesapeake, Senator Cosgrove.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, Senate Bill 1013, with the substitute, adds cancers of the colon, brain, and testes to the list of cancers that are presumed to be an occupational disease covered by Virginia Workmen's Compensation Act when firefighters develop those cancers. The measure removes the compensability requirement that the employee who develops cancer had contact with a toxic substance encountered in the line of duty. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, these folks are there for us every single day. Whenever we need them, they are there. They will go into a burning building for us. They will pull us out of a wrecked car that may or may not be on fire. They go to areas where those of us would not tread. They already have a number of cancers that are presumed to be occupational, and this would just add these three. And I hope that it would be the pleasure of the body to pass this bill for our firefighters.
Thank the Senator. For what purpose the Senator from Prince William, Senator McPike, rise?
Mr. President, I rise to speak to the measure.
Senator has the floor.
I rise today and speak in support of the measure. As many of you know, this is something that several of us have been working for several years. This corrects some serious wrongs that I've seen with some of my constituents over the last couple of years. In fact, since our last session, additional cases coming up that, due to the way this section of the code is written, causes significant issue to those, as the senator from Chesapeake indicated, have served our communities in so many different fashions in the crisis, in the moments in our lives when we need them. I'm glad this has finally made it to the floor. I think it is time that we finally act to correct this wrong. And unfortunately, we've lost folks over time that have not been able to take advantage of the changes that we'll make today, hopefully, that would help those families that had to go through legal battles, loss of life savings through these unfortunate illnesses. And it's time we cover our first responders through this provision and ask the bill pass.
Thank the Senator. For what purpose does the Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. Speak to the bill briefly.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Senate. I think the calendar indicates that I did not support this. I'm very much in the minority in that position, and I fully expect this bill to pass today, but I just wanted to make a couple comments about why I voted no, because it is a very popular thing to address. Obviously, cancer, huge health problem that we're trying to address, making great strides with it. But this particular bill was presented last year, and we decided, we've got to should address this, but we should really have a study. Well, we all know the session went late, and we struggled with this, and by the time we got around to authorizing the JLARC study on this particular subject, it was in December, just last month, when that study was commissioned. My no vote was just that I don't feel that I've got all the proper information at hand to make an informed judgment about how this should be put in place. I believe that the bill as it's currently structured has somewhat of a flaw in that it really, the essence of it would be to substitute workman's comp for health insurance or some other method of being able to make whole these individuals who have tremendous difficulties in their family when they do contract these cancers. So that's why I know this is not a good position to take on this bill. I certainly commend the patrons for pushing this, but I am going to vote no. Thank you.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 1030? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 1030 pass? All in favor of the motion record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 1.
Ayes 39, noes 1. Senate Bill 1030 passes.
Senate Bill 1099, a bill relating to the Department of General Services guidance to state public bodies regarding purchases of materials made in the United States.
The junior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator DeStaff.
Mr. President, may the bill pass. In speaking to that measure,
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, this is a Made in America bill. So what it does is very simple. It encourages the purchase of iron, steel, and manufactured goods that are made in the United States to be procured by the state bodies to the greatest extent possible. So it's a Made in America bill, Mr. President. America. Jobs bill. Jobs. Flags. America.
Thank the senator. What purpose is the senator from Grayson, Senator Carrico, rise?
Mr. President, just for clarification here, I know it shows me as a no vote, and either Senator Lucas and I have been working on bills together for so long they just put me down there beside of her name, or I fell down the steps and I had another concussion as I was voting. I hope you'll support this bill.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 1099? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 1099 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 34, noes 5.
Ayes 34, noes 5. Senate Bill 1099 passes.
Mr. President.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Having voted on the prevailing side by which we just passed Senate Bill 1099 on page 14, I'd ask we reconsider that vote, sir.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the vote by which Senate Bill 1099 pass be reconsidered? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The motion is agreed to. The junior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator DeStaff.
Mr. President, as previously explaining the Made in America bill, may the bill pass.
Thank the senator. Question is, shall Senate Bill 1099 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 35, noes 5.
Ayes 35, noes 5. Senate Bill 1099 passes.
Senate Bill 1169, a bill relating to apprenticeships, ratio of apprentices to journeymen.
Junior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator DeStaff.
Mr. President, I move the bill passage. And speaking to that measure,
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, what this bill does is it changes the ratio of apprentices to journeymen. Right now, we have a shortage of apprentices in the electrical engineering field, and electricians and plumbers and pipe fitters, a whole host of them. So what this does is it puts one journeyman for 2 apprentices. And with that, Mr. President, may the bill pass.
Thank the senator. For what purpose does the senator from Alexandria, Senator Eben, rise?
To speak against the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Speaking about apprenticeship and the ratio to journeymen, I don't know how many people here have had the opportunity to tour an apprenticeship center as I did this past fall, but their apprenticeship is valuable, and expanding the ratio of 2 to 1 will only cause more safety issues and many already hazardous job classifications. When the states were surveyed about their ratios, 97% reported nationwide a 1-to-1 ratio as permissible for the first apprentice accepted in the program in most occupations. Now, apprenticeships conduct valuable classroom training and on-the-job training to produce skilled workers. Increasing ratios would only water down the training and therefore produce less qualified journeymen. And I would say the bill is particularly unnecessary because we already have a means to increase the ratio in Virginia. Rather than allow the industry experts to make the important decisions regarding ratios, this bill would lock us in and circumvent the Virginia Office of Apprenticeship. Every situation is different, and the current policy allows any apprenticeship program to apply for an expanded ratio based on a specific need at a given time. Further, the process already in the Code of Virginia allows a business to request an increased ratio of apprentices to journeymen on a particular project. Decisions are made by industry experts in the Virginia Office of Apprenticeships. And if that isn't good enough and a business wants to appeal, they can appeal the decision in writing to the Apprenticeship Council. And that is another safeguard. So there's two ways to expand the ratio already. We know that these ratios are important to keep workers safe, particularly in hazardous occupations. So I would ask that the bill be defeated.
Thank the Senator. For what purpose does the senior senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw, rise?
Mr. President, to speak against the bill.
Senator has the floor.
A large reason that this was put in the code this way had to do with safety precautions, and particularly at construction sites. They're pretty dangerous, and that's where the bulk of these fatalities occur. And as you heard from the senator from Alexandria, there's more than enough ways to get exceptions to this rule. So the other thing, you take a profession like electrician, it's difficult, hard enough just to train a one-on-one, much less a one-on-two. And we need more people in that, but we're not going to get them this way. So you have the educational aspect of it, you have the safety aspect of it. As you know, there's a fair amount of construction that goes on in Northern Virginia, and I suspect more than any other place. I've never had anybody ever come to me and say we need to change the rules, the owners of these construction companies. Not a one. And this is a bill in search of a problem that doesn't exist. So I would hope that we would not pass the measure. Thank you.
Thank the Senator. For what purpose does the senior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator Wagner, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. Speaking to the bill.
Thanks, Senator. You have the floor.
I'm sure there's otherness in the room, but I doubt. I've spent 30, 40 years in an environment where I've worn a hard hat and worked around everybody from the most skilled master mechanic, machinist, right on down to the apprentice. And I hear a lot of the libel of injuries and that kind of thing. It's been my experience over the years. It's not the apprentice that gets injured. It's the gentleman that's been there for 30 years, it doesn't pay attention, it's done it this way so many times, it doesn't do something, and he's the one, or she is the one that gets injured. One thing I hear consistently from every business that's looks at, is I cannot find enough people. That's the one consistent message I hear everywhere. So it seems to me that if we're going to start to get more qualified people out there on the work sites, we need to start up in the ratio so that we can get more people in the training to get more people out on the work site, because quite frankly, that's the number one problem that faces businesses today in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Ask any business, and that's what they're going to tell you. So I would hope we'd support this measure.
Thank you, Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 1169? Junior Senator from Virginia Beach, Senator DeSteff.
Mr. President, I believe the questions have been answered. I believe this bill has been addressed. With that, I move the passage of this fine bill.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall Senate Bill 1169 pass? All in favor of the motion record their vote.
Mr. President.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
I apologize. Could we just pass this by temporarily, sir?
Without objection, Senate Bill 1169 will go by temporarily.
Senate Bill 13.
Junior Senator from Richmond City, Senator McClellan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Having voted on the prevailing side by which we passed Senate Bill 1014 on page 13, I ask that we reconsider that vote.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the vote by which Senate Bill 1013 passed be reconsidered?
No, 1014.
1014, sorry, Senator. Question is, shall the vote by which Senate Bill 1014 passed be reconsidered? All in favor of the motion will record their vote. Aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The motion is agreed to. Senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. For the reasons previously given, I move that Senate Bill 1014 pass, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall Senate Bill 1014 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote. Aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 26, noes 13.
Ayes 26, noes 13. Senate Bill 1014 passes.
Senate Bill 1340, a bill relating to land preservation tax credits threshold for conservation value review by the Department of Conservation and Recreation.
Senator from King George, Senator Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning.
Good morning, Senator.
Mr. President, I move the bill pass. And speaking to that.
Thanks, Senator. You have the floor.
Mr. President, Senate Bill 1340 reduces the threshold from $1 million to $500,000 that DCR would do a review for a tax credit. A little different way to say that is reduces the threshold at which they would look at the value of a piece of property to get that tax credit. So it goes from about $2.5 million piece of property to $1.2 million, $1.25 million in order to get that tax credit. And the reason for this is there are a limited amount of dollars to apply to these tax credits, and DCR wants to make sure that they're getting the conservation values out of them. They're not looking to enact any crazy rules or harm farmland or stop timbering or anything like that. It's just bring a little more scrutiny to make sure we're getting that conservation value. I'd ask you to support the bill.
Thank the Senator. For what purpose is the Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain, rise?
Mr. President, I rise to speak in opposition to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, it's with great trepidation that I stand up to take a position adverse to the Lord High Chairman of the Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources Committee. However, I never thought I'd see the day that the Chairman of the Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources Committee would stand up and advocate a bill that promotes the layering on of more levels of government bureaucracy. Mr. Chairman, what I would tell the members is, with great affection to my friend from Westmoreland County, this is not something that the conservation community supports. It is also not something that the agriculture community supports. It is something that is going to affect smaller property owners of land that deserves and needs preservation but may not be a $50 million piece of property. This is going to make it more expensive for those smaller property owners to be able to give the development rights for their property to set it aside, to protect it. In 2006, we set the limit at $1 million for review by DCR. And we set that limit for a reason. One, we have limited resources statewide. Second, it was an acknowledgement that it costs money for these property owners to submit to another layer of review. If you are going to contribute your development rights on your farm, and these are largely farms that are at issue. There certainly are property owners in more developed areas which do have some land that needs to be preserved, for which a relatively small parcel would fall within this category of properties. But in most areas, like mine or in Southwest Virginia or South Side and a lot of areas, $500,000 conservation easements really represent a pretty big parcel of land. And to have to go through this DCR review process costs money. This doesn't mean that if we defeat this bill, it doesn't mean that land that is going to be put in conservation isn't going to be reviewed. It is reviewed. You have to have it reviewed and certified by the receiving organization. So if I were to dedicate a conservation easement and deed it to the Virginia Outdoor Foundation, they have to certify the property. They have to review it. But under this bill, it's going to impose a second level of review by DCR, and it's already burdensome. And those small property owners are going to have to pay to go through this process, and it's going to dissuade more small property owners from putting their farm in conservation easements. It's going to make it more expensive for them. And I've heard from farmers, and I've heard from agricultural organizations, and, you know, I've even heard from people involved in the conservation movement. I'm not usually the first person they call, but they've called me about this. And I will tell you that they are very concerned about this and the impact that it's going to have on the motivation for people to dedicate their property or take it out of development. So I would urge members to let this one go this year. Defeat this bill. If there is a reason to take a look at it, let's look at it next year. But if we were to look at the $1 million threshold that was adopted in 2006 and simply apply inflation adjustments to it, it ought to be going up. That threshold ought to be going up. Instead, we are imposing that governmental review on a whole lot more pieces of property, and really virtually every single piece of property that is going to go through this, the easement process is going to have to be subjected to this review. And I just would submit this is going in the wrong direction for agriculture, for conservation, and when you look at the role of government, this is a big government bill.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is the senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. Speak to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Senate. I rise to speak actually in favor of this. It's one that I've studied quite a bit working with the chair of the Agriculture Committee. Look, just a quick little bit of history on this. I had the opportunity working with that time Delegate Deeds, or the delegate, now Senator from Bath, to put in place the Conservation Tax Credit Program back in 1999, which was actually 20 years ago. Hard to believe that. And it's been very successful. But what we found after a number of years, because the first pass of that was a tax credit to working farmers, that was where it was targeted to preserve land that was not transferable. And actually the program began to work in a very meaningful way because it sheltered tax liability for working farms and other people who had property that was in the appropriate uses where they agreed to conserve their land. The Attorney General shortly thereafter ruled that we didn't mean to cap it. Well, we really did, but that was the ruling. And so it became a wide open program, which grew exponentially. And I basically still favored that because we had controls over it. It got to a point where we thought, you know, this is a lot of money being diverted to this program, so we probably should put some conservation controls on, make sure that we're getting not only a lot of acres preserved, but it's actually doing something for our environment and for our conservation effort. So what we decided to do, and I think the former senator from Powhatan carried the bill, was to say if that tax credit was $1 million, which would be for a value of $2.5 million because you get a 40% credit, that we ought to take a look at it for conservation value. And that's worked well. Now, it was opposed at that time by some of the land trusts that wanted to keep it running wide open, as it is currently being opposed, I think now by a couple of the land trusts that want not to have that scrutiny placed on them. But, Mr. President, we're at a point in time, I think, where we want to preserve this as an opportunity for our working farmers and others that are interested in conserving land to have a viable program for the future. And in that respect, I don't think it's much if we're going to extend $500,000 in tax credits, which is huge when you think of the implications for tax sheltering for Virginia tax rate, which is only 5.75% of the maximum level, that we, at the same time that we are trying to put BMPs in place, that we're trying to make sure that cattle are being fenced out of streams, that we say, yeah, it should have some conservation value if you're going to have that larger credit. And I believe it will be administered fairly, so I support the bill, Mr. President.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 1340? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 1340 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 25, noes 15.
Ayes 25, noes 15. Senate Bill 1340 passes.
Senate Bill 1415, a bill relating to the regulation of public adjusters.
Senator from Williamsburg, Senator Mason.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that Senate Bill 1415 pass. And speaking to the motion.
Thank you, Senator. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, this year I asked the State Corporation Commission to look into a matter for me, and they brought this to my attention, a problem that I didn't even know existed. But recently we've had a lot of big storms, heavy snow, tropical storms, knocking trees down on people's houses and doing other damage. Well, it seems we have people riding through the neighborhoods saying, hey, I can help you with your insurance claim. I can get the tree off your house. I can patch your roof. I can file the claim for you. Start A to Z. Just sign this tablet right here, and we'll take advantage. We'll take care of you. Well, it turns out, Mr. Chairman, they're having people sign a contract, and they're getting a percentage of the claim proceeds. And so this bill defines that as soliciting, because that's what it's doing. It's selling. And then it speaks to the things that licensed public adjusters can do and walks through a list of the 5 things. And then, Mr. President, members, it says that if you handle any money as a public adjuster, it outlines the escrow process and no commingling of funds. So the National Association of Public Insurance Adjusters support this, Mr. President, because they're doing it right. And believe it or not, we had over 110 examples of this just last year alone. So we need to clean this up, Mr. President, and I urge the body to pass the bill.
I thank the Senator. For what purpose does Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson, rise?
Gentleman, yield for a question.
Will Senator yield?
Yes, sir, Mr. President.
You have the floor.
I have to ask the gentleman, I wasn't aware of public adjustment. How is this different than practicing law?
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, I say to the gentleman that the trial lawyers did take a look at this, and we circled back by, and we made clear that this does not include them. This is a segment for public adjusters only, and has no impact on the fine men and women of the bar.
Further question?
Thank the gentleman.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 1415? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 1415 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. Senate Bill 1415 passes.
Senate Bill 1537, a bill relating to the Virginia Property Owners Association Act, home-based businesses.
Senator from Eastern Fairfax, Senator Servell.
Mr. President, I move the bill pass and speaking to the motion.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, Senate Bill 1537 clarifies the rules about how homeowners associations can prohibit home-based child care within their communities. This bill's been the process. It's been about a 3-year negotiation between the Community Association Institute and child care advocates. The problem that it's seeking to address is that many HOAs have provisions in their covenants that prohibit home-based businesses, but local governments allow certain types of businesses to operate within homes as either an ancillary or an incidental use under their zoning ordinance. And so sometimes people go and they get approval from their local government to do the child care, but then they find out that their HOA thinks that that's a home-based business. And this just says that if an HOA wants to ban a child care as a home-based business, they have to specifically state child care in their covenant instead of using a generic home-based business prohibition. The bill is endorsed by the Housing Commission. There's finally peace in the valley on this after 4 years. I would hope it would be the pleasure of the body to pass the bill.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 1537? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 1537 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. Senate Bill 1537 passes.
Senate Bill 1613, a bill relating to driver's license suspensions for certain non-driving related offenses.
Senator from Alexandria, Senator Ebbett.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill pass, and speaking to that motion.
Senator has the floor.
This bill has to do with whether or not a punishment fits the offense. Now, right now, we're suspending the driver's licenses of about 200,000 Virginians who've had non-driving offenses. This is in the spirit of the bill that we just passed, 1013 from the senator from Franklin, as well as SB 1091 that the body passed 38-2 in 2017. What it does is it removes the suspension of driver's licenses for non-driving related offenses such as trespassing, shoplifting, and most notably for drug crimes. We know that people need their licenses for getting to work, picking up children at school, and going to grocery stores. We also know that according to the Prison Policy Institute, Virginians lose their license for drug offenses alone more than 38,000 times a year, and that 99% of our license suspensions in Virginia did not involve a motor vehicle. Then I would say there have been studies in other states that after the loss of license, people have lost jobs, unable to find new employment, or if they were able to find an employment, that their income went down. Finally, I'd say that only 12 states still suspend driver's licenses for non-driving drug offenses, I should say. None of the states that border Virginia, Maryland, West Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, North Carolina, still engage in this practice. And we've already taken one step down that road with marijuana offenses. It's fine to punish people for what they do, but let's not take away their automobile if it's not related to that, their driving ability. With that, I move the bill pass.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 1613? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 1613 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 37, noes 3.
Ayes 37, noes 3. Senate Bill 1613 passes.
Senate Bill 1623, a bill related to confidentiality of tax information, local tax officers sharing tax information with certain local administrative officers in the city of Manassas Park.
Senator from Prince William County, Senator McPike.
Mr. President, I move the bill pass, and speaking to the motion.
Senator has the floor.
This is a bill that was requested from my locality. You all probably received a few emails or calls about it. I think the original legislation was fairly wide. We've been through about 4 or 5 different discussions with commissioners and as well as commissioners of revenue and treasurers through the process to continue to narrow down. The essentially basis of the bill is this locality is one of the ones that have been covered under the Auditor of Public Accounts for possible fiscal distress, which many in this chamber have been working on. And I appreciate that work. And there's roughly a handful of localities that fall in that condition. One of the provisions as the bill went to finance to further narrow it was to limit this original bill now to just to the city of Manassas Park. So it does require an 80% vote, I believe, of the body. And so I'd appreciate it. This is a local request, and if you read through the bill, it says the Commissioner of Revenue or Treasurer may, not shall, but may. And so the idea is that they can create an MOU of what information they're going to share, the process to move through that MOU, as well as to terminate it. And so this bill also still falls under the non-disclosure agreements. So with the MOU in place, they would have to sign the non-disclosure agreement in relation to this specific piece of legislation. So any infraction of that is a Class 1 misdemeanor, as already provided within the code. So this bill has so many safeguards built into it, the limitations, the MOU, the allowance in terms of a may, so it's the choice, it's not a shall, for these folks to participate in it. So I think, appreciate the substitute that you see before you that was passed out of the Committee of Finance, presented by the Senator from Augusta to assist with this process. And so I'd appreciate, as we're dealing with several localities in fiscal distress, that this assist in that process and allow those treasurers or commissioners of revenue that are in much small localities with revenue in population, that they're able to coordinate and they're able to streamline their financial data. And that's what this bill does, and that's what it's about. And I appreciate the body's passage of the bill.
Mr. President.
Who is standing up? Oh, it's Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peters.
I'll rise for request.
What's Senator's request?
Could that bill go by for the day?
No objection.
Without objection, Senate Bill 1623 will go by for the day.
Mr. President.
Senior Senator from Chesapeake, Senator Cosgrove.
Thank you, Mr. President. Having voted on the prevailing side whereby we passed Senate Bill 1613, I ask that we reconsider that vote.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the vote by which Senate Bill 1613 passed be reconsidered? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, no 0. The motion is agreed to. The Senator from Alexandria, Senator Eben.
Thank you, Mr. President. I renew my motion that the bill pass. This bill, SB 1613, was the bill dealing with non-driving offenses being penalized as with loss of a driver's license.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall Senate Bill 1613 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 2.
Ayes 38, noes 2. Senate Bill 1613 passes.
Senate Bill 1695, a bill relating to public utilities, acquisition of rights-of-way for qualified economic development sites.
Senior Senator from Virginia Beach, Senator Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. President. And what Senate Bill 1695 does is allow for prospective economic development sites. And let me give a little background. I probably got a little bit ahead of myself there. We have lost many, many large economic development prospects simply because we did not have a site ready to go to accommodate some substantial ones, up to and including automobile manufacturers that we've lost to states to our south who are better prepared, quite frankly, Mr. President. They had sites ready to go, utilities ready to go, everything ready to go and come in. What you have a situation far too often here in Virginia is we don't have those sites ready to go. So you're asking a prospective client, yeah, this is going to be a beautiful location for you. Hopefully I can get your utilities to you. Hopefully I can get the infrastructure to you, but just hang on while we pass all this through. So what this bill does, Mr. President, is really two things. Once a site is identified from a locality, a developer, whomever, the VEDP goes through and validates that site and says, yeah, it is a potential, one of the ones we'd like to see further developed and move forward. And then we can move ahead with a plan to accomplish, to accommodate, to gather up the easements necessary to ensure that the appropriate utilities can be brought to that site so that site can ultimately be developed. That function, quite frankly, will be covered once the application is put in by the SEC to determine whether or not the cost makes sense to go ahead and run the development or grant the easements to allow utilities, if someone was located there, to be brought through the easement that's already been acquired. That's what the bill does, Mr. President, and I would ask that the bill pass.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 1695? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 1695 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 34, noes 6.
Ayes 34, noes 6. Senate Bill 1695 passes.
Returning to page 15, Senate Bill 1169.
Junior Senator from Virginia Beach, Senator DeSteff.
Mr. President, may that bill go by for the day.
Without objection, Senate Bill 1169 will go by for the day.
Returning to page 12, Senate Bill 1098.
Senator from Western Fairfax, Senator Marsden.
Thank you, Mr. President. Trying to get a phone call from someone on this bill, so could we take this by for the day?
Without objection, Senate Bill 1098 will go by for the day.
Uncontested calendar, Senate bills on second reading.
Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, tell the gentleman from Western Fairfax that Senator Stanley's right here. You don't need to call him. Mr. President, I move that the Senate bills on second reading on the uncontested calendar, pages 18 through 30, Senate Bill 1000 through Senate Bill 1691 be advanced to the engrossment and third readings in the block after the adoption of the amendments thereto. Any senator desiring to remove a bill from the block, please do so after the clerk has read the number of the bill.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall all Senate bills on second reading on the uncontested calendar on pages 18 through 30, Senate Bill 1000 through Senate Bill 1691, be engrossed in advance to their third reading in the block after the adoption of any amendments thereto, and that any senator desiring to remove a bill from the block do so after the clerk has read the number of the bill. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. The clerk will read the number of the bills.
Senate Bill 1000, reported from the Committee on Finance with an amendment.
Senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move that the committee amendment be agreed to.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is agreed to.
Senate Bill 1018, reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections with amendment, and from the Committee on Finance with an amendment.
Senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that we move the committee amendments.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are adopted. Senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that we engross and advance the amendments to their third constitutional read.
Right. Right. Senator, so we just moved the amendments from the Committee on Privileges and Elections. Does the Senator want to move now the committee amendment from the Committee on Finance?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we agree to the amendments on finance.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have. The committee amendment is adopted. Senator from Chesterfield. Whoa, you're good. You're good. Thank you.
Senate Bill 1045, reported from the Committee on Local Government. Senate Bill 1102, reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections with a substitute.
Senator from Lynchburg, Senator Peake.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I move that the substitute be agreed to.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is adopted.
Senate Bill 1131, reported from the Committee on Local Government. Senate Bill 1191, reported from the Committee on Local Government. Senate Bill 1193, reported from the Committee on Local Government with a substitute.
Senator from Petersburg, Senator Dance.
Mr. President, I move the substitute.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is adopted.
Senate Bill 1194, reported from the Committee on Local Government. Senate Bill 1196, reported from the Committee on Finance. Senate Bill 1205, reported from the Committee on Finance. Senate Bill 1213, reported from the Committee on Education and Health and from the Committee on Finance. Senate Bill 1283, reported from the Committee on Finance with an amendment.
Senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
Mr. President, I move that the committee amendment be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is agreed to.
Senate Bill 1370, reported from the Committee on Finance. Senate Bill 1386, reported from the Committee on Finance. Senate Bill 1393, reported from the Committee on Finance. Senate Bill 1396, reported from the Committee on Local Government. Senate Bill 1412, reported from the Committee on Finance with an amendment.
Senator from Williamsburg, Senator Mason. I think he's out there. The junior senator from Richmond City, Senator McClellan.
Mr. President, I move the committee amendment.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is adopted.
Senate Bill 1424, reported from the Committee on Local Government. Senate Bill 1485, reported from the Committee on Finance with amendments.
Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Mr. President, I move the committee amendments be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to.
Senate Bill 1495, reported from the Committee on Finance with amendment.
Senator from Russell, Senator Chafin.
Mr. President, I move the committee amendments be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is agreed to.
Senate Bill 1558, reported from the Committee on Local Government. Senate Bill 1562, reported from the Committee on Local Government. Senate Bill 1594, reported from the Committee on Local Government. Senate Bill 1610, reported from the Committee on Finance with substitute.
Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move the committee substitute be agreed to.
I thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to.
Senate Bill 1615, reported from the Committee on Finance. Senate Bill 1633, reported from the Committee on Local Government with amendments.
Senator from Northwestern Fairfax, Senator Boysko.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that the committee agreements be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to.
Senate Bill 1691, reported from the Committee on Local Government.
Question is, shall the Senate bills be engrossed in advance to their third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bills are engrossed in advance to their third reading.
Regular calendar, Senate bills on second reading. Senate Bill 1038, relating to voter registration, verification of Social Security numbers, provisional registration status. Reported from the Committee on Finance with an amendment.
Senator from Lynchburg, Senator Peake.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. I move that the amendments be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to. Senator from Lynchburg, Senator Peake.
Mr. President, I move that the bill be engrossed in advance to its third reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed in advance to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed in advance to its third reading. Thanks,
Senate Bill 1158, a bill relating to carrying a concealed handgun permit not required. Reported from the Committee on Finance.
Senator from Loudoun, Senator Black.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the bill be engrossed and advanced to third reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed in advance to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed in advance to its third reading.
Senate Bill 1173, a bill relating to the Virginia Military Survivors Independence Education Program eligibility. Reported from the Committee on Education and Health with a substitute, and from the Committee on Finance with an amendment.
Senator from Prince William County, Senator McPike.
Mr. President, I ask that Senate Bill 1173 go by for the day.
Without objection, Senate Bill 1173 will go by for the day.
Senate Bill 1258, a bill relating to school boards personnel behavior analysts. Reported for the Committee on Education and Health with a substitute, and from the Committee on Finance with a substitute.
Senator from Henrico, Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. President. With the recommendation that we reject the substitute, I move the substitute from the Committee on Education and Health.
Thank the senator. with the recommendation that it be rejected, the question is, shall the substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no.
No.
The noes have it. The substitute is rejected. Seeing at least, no, just one. Senator from Henrico, Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we agree to the substitute from the Committee on Finance.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the substitute from the Committee on Finance be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The substitute is agreed to. Senator from Henrico, Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we engross the bill and advance it to its third constitutional reading.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 1301, a bill relating to private collectors, delinquent taxes, and other amounts due. Reported from the Committee on Finance.
Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Mr. President, I move that the bill be engrossed and advanced to a second reading. Engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 1350, a bill relating to corporate limits, town council, and mayor. Reported for the Commission on Local Government with amendments.
Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Mr. President, I move the committee amendments be agreed to.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to. Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Mr. President, because this bill is in a much better geographic location than Route 58 or 73, I move that it be advanced to its third reading.
I thank the Senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 1408, a bill relating to additional planning powers in operable vehicles. Reported from the Committee on Local Government.
Senator from Williamsburg, Senator Mason.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
I thank the Senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 1455, a bill relating to Department of Elections and the State Board of Elections, reorganizations as independent agency, membership of board, appointment of Commissioner of Elections. Reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections with a substitute.
Senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the substitute be agreed to.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The substitute is agreed to. Senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 1506, a bill relating to Radford University authority to establish Radford University Roanoke Division. Reported from the Committee on Education and Health with a substitute and from Finance with an amendment.
Senator from Grayson, Senator Carrico.
Mr. Chairman, or Mr. President, move that the amendment be agreed to, the substitute.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to. Senator from Grayson, Senator Carrico.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move that the bill be engrossed and passed on to its third and final.
Does the Senator want to move the committee amendments?
Move the committee amendment, sorry.
No. Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to. Senator from Grayson, Senator Carrico.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move that the bill be engrossed and passed on to its third and final reading.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 1579, a bill relating to standards and criteria for congressional and state legislative districts. Reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections.
Senator from Roanoke County, Senator Suderline.
Mr. President, I would move that Senate Bill 1579 be engrossed and advanced to its third constitutional reading.
I thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 1715, a bill relating to sales and use tax exemptions, Menstrual Supplies Dignity Act, reported from the Committee on Finance with an amendment.
Senator from Northwestern Fairfax, Senator Boysko.
I move that amendments be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to. Senator from Northwestern Fairfax, Senator Boysko.
Mr. President, I ask that we pass it by for the day.
Without objection, Senate Bill 1715 will go by for the day.
Uncontested calendar, Senate bills on first reading.
Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Mr. President, I move that all Senate bills on the first reading on the uncontested and regular calendars, pages 35 through 50, Senate Bills 1004 through Senate Bill 1727, that the rules be suspended and the first constitutional reading of the titles be dispensed with.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the rules be suspended and the first reading of the titles of Senate bills on the uncontested and regular calendars, pages 35 through 50, Senate Bill 1004 through Senate Bill 1727, be dispensed with? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 1.
Ayes 38, noes 1. The reading of the titles is dispensed with. Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I now move that all said bills be passed by for the day.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the Senate bills on the uncontested and regular calendars now on second reading go by for the day? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bills will go by for the day.
Uncontested calendar, Senate Joint Resolution on second reading. Senate Joint Resolution 319, confirming appointments by the governor of certain persons communicated to the General Assembly January 8, 2019, reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections.
Senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the resolution be engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the resolution be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolution is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Regular calendar, Senate Joint Resolutions on second reading. Senate Joint Resolution 278, proposing an amendment to Section 6 of Article 10 of the Constitution of Virginia relating to personal property tax exemption, motor vehicle owned by a disabled veteran, reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections with a substitute.
Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
I would move the committee substitute.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is adopted. Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
With that adoption, Mr. President, I would move that we engross and advance to its third reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the resolution be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolution is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Joint Resolution 283, proposing an amendment to Section 1 of Article 2 of the Constitution of Virginia relating to qualifications of voters, restoration of civil rights, reported for the Committee on Privileges and Elections, and there is a floor amendment.
Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards. Is there a floor amendment?
Move we waive the reading of the floor amendment, but I'll explain it.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the reading of the floor amendment be waived? All in favor of waiving the reading will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading of the floor amendment is waived. Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Mr. President, this floor amendment is intended to simplify and actually make it more logical and lawyer-like pardon the phrase, but it makes it gets to the heart of the matter. What this constitutional amendment would provide is the General Assembly may provide by general law for the restoration of civil rights for any person who has been convicted of a felony, and put a period. It deletes more specific language which is unnecessary in a constitution. You make constitutional language should be clear and pointed to the point, and allow the legislation then to design what crimes a person could have the rights restored to. And as opposed to, for example, the language that I would delete is not designated by the General Assembly as a barrier crime for the purpose of rights restoration, and who has completed service of his sentence and paid in full any restitution, fines, costs, and fees assessed against him as a result of his conviction. Mr. President, that's very specific. The legislation that would follow the constitutional amendment could put that in it, or however the General Assembly designed. What crimes should a person be allowed to have their rights restored by this legislation? And so, therefore, it makes the constitutional language clear and focused and to the point, and leaves up to the General Assembly what legislation should follow therefrom. So with that explanation, Mr. President, I move that the amendment pass, or amendment be agreed to.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. President.
Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougall.
Mr. President, if after reviewing this amendment, it looks like it is pretty substantively different than the introduced bill, so I'm going to ask, since we've been here for a while on a Friday, if this could go by for the day before adopting the floor substitute.
Without objection, Senate Joint Resolution 283 will go by for the day.
Senate Joint Resolution 306, proposing an amendment to Section 6 of Article 2 of the Constitution of Virginia, and proposing an amendment to the Constitution of Virginia by adding in Article 2 a section numbered 6-A relating to apportionment, Virginia Redistricting Commission. And there is a reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections with a substitute, and there are two floor amendments.
Senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
Mr. President, I move that go by for today.
Without objection, Senate Joint Resolution 306 will go by for the day. Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougall.
Thank you, Mr. President. Inquiry of the clerk, does that mercifully complete the calendar?
Yes, sir.
Before everybody has to return to rehab?
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there any other business to come before? Senator from Williamsburg, Senator Mason.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that the rules be suspended and we take up House Joint Resolution 734 for immediate consideration.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the rules be suspended and House Joint Resolution 734 be taken up for immediate consideration? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, no 0. The rules are suspended to take up the resolution for immediate consideration.
Mr. President.
Senator from Williamsburg, Senator Mason.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the resolution be agreed to.
Clerk will please read the title.
House Joint Resolution number 734, commending William M. Kelso.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The question is, shall the resolution be agreed to? All in favor of agreeing to the resolution will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolution is agreed to. Senator from Western Fairfax, Senator Marsden.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a brief point of personal privilege.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you. I know we're all anxious to get on with the rehab meeting and to get on home, but the shutdown still goes on in Washington, and this is the second payday that's going to be missed. My contractors are not being paid, people who work for federal contracts, and most of them will not get the money paid back to them like federal employees are likely to be when the shutdown ends. We're going to be starting to miss revenues, sales taxes, Eventually, maybe this week, maybe the end of this month, mortgage payments are not going to be made. You know, red lights are flashing here, and this is beginning to impact the Commonwealth. This just isn't a federal matter anymore. And our constituents are beginning to slide into trouble. And the only direction we've been given from Washington is that if you need food, if you're hungry, get a loan. The other information we've got was that you should contact your local grocery stores who you have relationships with for free food. So, Mr. President, I don't know what my duty is here. You know, clearly we all care about our constituents, and we all have federal employees, probably more up our way than elsewhere. But do we contact our bankers? Do we go down to our local food stores? We need to do whatever we can do with our personal relationships, with our federal representatives, to bring this shutdown to a close because it's getting serious. It is impacting us. And I thank you, and everybody have a safe trip home. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. For what purpose is Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain, rise?
For an announcement, Mr. President.
Senator has the floor.
This afternoon, immediately upon adjournment of the House, assuming that we're about to adjourn, there will be a joint meeting of the House and Senate Courts of Justice Committee, and I'm trespassing on your time because even those of you who are not on the Courts of Justice Committee may have judicial candidates who are being interviewed. I would encourage anybody who can to be there to introduce your candidates, and members of the Courts Committee to be there to participate in the interviews. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator. For what purpose is Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I know originally we said that we were going to start 15 minutes after adjournment, but if the members of Rehab and Social Services could get there immediately after adjournment, as soon as we get a quorum, we'll gavel in so people can get home. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be recognized? Is there any other business to come before the Senate? Seeing none, the clerk will report any announcements on the desk.
Today, Friday, January 25th, the Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services will meet immediately after adjournment, Senate Room A, Pocahontas. The Senate Committee for Courts of Justice and the House Judicial Panel joint meeting will meet immediately upon adjournment of both the Senate and the House in the House Committee Room in Pocahontas Building for judicial interviews. Not quite sure where that room is, but the large room, okay, on the first floor. Monday, January 28th, the Rehabilitation and Social Services Subcommittee number 2 will meet 7:30 a.m. Subcommittee Room 1 on the 5th floor of the Pocahontas Building. Senators Cosgrove, Favola, Chafin, DeSteph, and Spruill. The Committee for Courts of Justice will meet at 8 a.m. Senate Room A in Pocahontas. The Republican caucus will meet promptly at 11 a.m. in Senate Room 2. The Democratic caucus will meet at 11:30 a.m. in Senate Room 1. Weather report. Today is going to be partly sunny, breezy, and colder, highs in the 40s. Saturday, partly sunny, lows in the 20s, highs in the 40s. Sunday, mostly cloudy, lows in the 20s, and the high near 50. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate do now adjourn until 12 noon Monday.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the Senate stand adjourned until 12 noon on Monday? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Senate stands adjourned until 12 noon on Monday.